Hello, welcome along to the Engaged in Leadership Academy's Lunch and Learn sessions. Today we're going to be talking about why do employees become disengaged. Okay, so over the next 40 minutes or so, I'd like to chat to you about the following. Really, what will you get out of this little lunch and learn? Well, hopefully you'll understand that employees are engaged when starting a new job. I think we all know that people, they turn up, they're nice, shiny new people. They come into our companies, and basically what happens after that? Because most people don't start disengaged. So what happens? We will look at that's a key definition that I hold personally. That a disengagement is an outcome. It's an outcome of a process. It's an outcome of a range of things that happen, and we will look today at three key things that employees need in an organisation in order to be engaged, not disengaged. So three things they need to be engaged, and if these three things are missing, well then, do they become disengaged as a result, or any one of those three things? And we will consider these three things in your own workplace. Okay. So as I say, people turn up to a new job and they're engaged. Okay, they're full of hope for the future. They're bright, they're shiny, they're new, they're engaged, they're wanting to do great things. So what happens after? So why do they start engaged in the first place? Well, first of all, they're making new friends. I chatted, and I've seen this, I've read this over the last while in a few places, and I remember chatting to people about before, psychologists, my own kind of people really, say there's three things that people need in order to have a happy life. One, they need someone to love. Two, they need something to do. And three, they need something to hope for. And I've been thinking about that in terms of the workplace and engagement. So why are people engaged? And what do they need in order to be engaged? I've turned that around. I think maybe those three things are maybe a little bit vague for what we need. But again, they're important. So this is why I'm saying why are people engaged? So the first thing is that the relationships are there. We need someone to love, and that can either be in terms of a spouse or a partner, but it can also be making good friends. So when people join a new workplace, they're starting to make new friends. They're excited about that. They're meeting new people. The second thing is that they're interested, and I think this is where that original concept of people need something to do. It's not that they need something to do, they need something interesting to do. They need interesting work. And when they join a new job, everything's interesting because everything's new. Even if it's similar work to what they've done before, it's in a new environment with new people and maybe new processes and procedures. So it's a positive change. And that positivity is enhanced even further because you know yourself when you join a new job. I know all the time in my past when I've taken on a new job, the one thing that I've felt is full of hope. Hope for the future. What can I achieve? How can I enhance my career? How can I make my life better with this new job? And believing that there's an avenue now to a better life, to a better existence, to happier times. And that's not just down to, yes, maybe I moved because I could get a pay rise. But it's not just down to that. It's down to development, enhancement, personal and professional growth. So again, these things are important. And this is why, a lot of people join, they're engaged to start with. So what happens? Why does disengagement soon set in? Well, it's back to our three things for engagement. Are people still having good relationships at work? Are those relationships maintained? And we're going to talk through each one of these in slightly more detail now. But just to introduce them again, we've just looked at this from the general life point of view. But in terms of your team, do people still feel that those relationships are in place? And the person asked me last week, well, who or what relationship has most impact on engagement? And she was kind of thinking of the level above the line manager, and I think that's important. I think that, you know, engagement in an organisation or engagement strategy is only as strong as each link of the chain. So yes, you need the organisation and senior management in an organisation to set the scene for an engaging workplace, to start putting the environment in place and to make the necessary allowances and permissions for people to do certain things, and putting budget aside, etc., for maybe doing some engagement type development and work. Although I wouldn't always advocate that, but that's what companies do. So I answered my colleague really in saying, look, that's important. It is important at each level, and that the line manager's manager obviously is important. But for the bulk of the organisation, it's the line manager themselves. That's the relationship that, you know, if I work in a team, I look at my line manager. I look to my line manager in order for me to be able to define my organisation, the culture that I work in, how things are done around here. Am I valued or not? That's my line manager who's going to more or less influence that totally as to whether my work is of any value. And again, that's why I believe that relationship is absolutely crucial. Now, it's important that their line manager, their direct manager on up the chain a bit, behaves in a similar fashion as we are asking the line manager to work with their team. So it is important at each level, and those relationships are absolutely crucial. So if you see your team starting to become, or new members starting to become disengaged, is this the first place to look? Those relationships. Second, do they have interesting work to do? Are they doing the same thing all day, every day, without any reprieve or any interest? So again, it's key areas that we need to look at. And finally, what have they got to aim for? What have they got? I have some good examples around these three areas. Okay, so I will talk through each one of them in turn. So we'll start off with good relationships. So this is absolutely and utterly crucial. It was just the same person that asked me what relationship was important or most important, and I told a story around two managers that I worked with at the same time in the same organisation, and I was developing them. Both their teams were in trouble, and only one of those managers took the training and the whole development program seriously. The organisation had brought me in to try to boost performance in these teams and give me access to both the management teams. So they're quite big units. I think there's 55 people in one and 72 in the other. The manager of the 55 strong team took it seriously. The manager of the 72 strong team didn't really take it as seriously. Went through the training, but really fought and railed against the concepts a lot of the time. Now, but the key difference that was made is that I had a chat on up the line with both managers, assistant directors. And one assistant director said, "Yes, what do you want me to do differently?" And I recalled to him, or told him on the story that his the person who's reporting to him, the manager of the 55 strong team, was telling me that he was going in for his fortnightly kick-in at headquarters. And that's a horrible thing to consider. That he felt, yes, he liked his assistant director, but he knew every time he'd seen him, it was going to be basically a battering session, and he's going to come out feeling worse than he went in. So I had a chat with the assistant director and said, look, why not change the focus? They were so focused on numbers and spreadsheets, and everything was about the spreadsheet. And yes, that's important. Those numbers are absolutely vital. But I asked him just for a period of time to change tack, and to not to ask him what the spreadsheet said, but to focus more on how he was getting on with his team. What changes did he think he could make to help the team perform better, in terms of how he worked with them, and how they felt, and everything, all down that softer line. And you know what? That team changed almost immediately. It was only maybe 2 months later, 3 months later, that team had went from being in trouble in the organisation for the senior management thinking, what are we going to do with this, to them being held up, to the whole company as an example of best practice and an example of high performance. After that conversation with his assistant director, the line manager then went back to his team, and to each of his he was the unit manager, went back to the team, and each of the line managers then, he was basically saying, look, here's what we've got, how are we going to work, what are we going to do, how are we going to do it differently. So each of those line managers started behaving differently with their team, started talking to them differently. I was meeting the management team once a month on a Wednesday. They went for breakfast before meeting me and had a bonding session, and again, it was breakfast that they decided to go for. It wasn't being provided by the company. They decided to go and do it, buying their own breakfast, as they probably should. But again, it made a huge difference, and all of a sudden performance bounced upwards. So it's a good key one to remember, that relationship between the line manager and each link in that chain. I always focus on the line manager because they're the people facing the bulk of your organisation, but they need the management above them to behave in the same way. So a rule for one's a rule for everybody. So in order to get those relationships in place, you need good, clear communication. That manager now knew that his assistant director had his back. That assistant director was talking to him about how he could work differently with his team. So he felt looked after, he felt cared for, and he was clear on what they were now focused on. It wasn't the spreadsheets were going out off to the side for a while. They were taking a different approach to improving performance. And by having those conversations, he felt more valued, but so did the guys that he went back to speak to. I remember meeting those ladies and gentlemen over the next few months, and they were in a different place simply because they were being asked what they think they needed to do with their team. How could they communicate, support, develop, work better with the people on the ground, and it worked. So those relationships are absolutely vital. The second area is basically interest in work, and we all like a little bit more than just doing the 9 to 5, and it's something that I'd hold very dear in any work that I've ever done. And I'd always say most people are the same. In my experience, it's shown time and time again that most people are the same. It's about basically what they have to call their own. We all find a sense of identity through our work, and what do we have within that job that we call our own, that we call, that's my project, that's my task, that's what I do. And it's important because I ran a survey with a 300 strong organisation, geographically dispersed, not all in one location, and 10% of that organisation, 10% of the respondents came back and asked the same question. When they were asked what would make them more engaged, they come back and answered it with the same information. These guys were based all over the country. What they wanted was interesting projects. They wanted projects that would give them a future at the organisation, that would help them stay there, but would help them develop. They wanted a career, they wanted a future. And you can see with that interest in the work, they wanted something that was going to challenge them now. They didn't want to go on training courses as part of their development plan. They wanted projects, they wanted actual real experience to say, when the next promotion opportunity arises, I'll be in a position to do it. and they were very clear in their feedback. These guys weren't talking to each other about this. This was, and probably the most interesting point I need to highlight here is that the full 10% of people that responded out of this 300 strong organisation, they all reported as disengaged on the survey. They were disengaged because they hadn't asked from the company. They wanted something to do. So what did they want? They wanted interesting projects that would lead them to a career. And that's one thing. Don't disregard or discard the disengaged employees, because a lot of those guys are very talented. A lot of those guys want to work for your company. They're disengaged because there's something that they need that isn't being reciprocated. For these guys, it was interesting work that would bring them development. Okay, so again, find out how you can do that for your team members, and you'll reap the benefits of that. And I said they all have an ask. All disengaged employees have an ask. That's why they're disengaged. On our survey, we keep it a bit wider. I know Gallup goes for 3 brackets. We go for 5, and I've made that decision on the basis that 3 is maybe a bit too broad. And I've found, in my experience, that leavers do not come generally from the disengaged population. They come from that floating population that I term neither engaged nor disengaged. The disengaged guys, they have something that they want, and it's usually development, usually career related, usually what's my future. Okay, so that brings us on to our final area, something to aim for. So what do your team members have to aim for? Are they being developed for a future career? I worked in an organisation before where it's very hard to see your career path. It's very hard to see how you'd rise up through the ranks. I've also worked with very technical organisations where they had very skilled individuals working for them, but those individuals were getting frustrated and annoyed and feeling that they were being held back despite being the better skilled individual in terms of their choice of career, engineering, etc. They thought they've seen lesser skilled, technically lesser skilled people pushing past them on the career ladder, all of a sudden managing teams, and the organisations would then have to look for alternative ways of enhancing these people's careers. See, people need something to aim for, need a hope for the future. I wouldn't leave it at hope. I would leave it at an aim, that there's a career path. The guys in that previous example I've given you in 300 strong an organisation, they all knew the promotion wasn't guaranteed. They made that quite clear. But what they wanted was interesting work that would enhance their careers, and that's our number one point here. Generally the ask will be for a career, for promotion, for future. So have a chat with your team about what's needed to move up, even one-to-one, maybe on a group basis. Get to know the people that you work with and have a conversation with them about what it takes and what's needed to get the next promotion opportunity, and make sure you clarify it's up to them to take on the projects, to do the work, and then perform in the interview. And this leads into my definition of what employee engagement is about. And I feel that employee engagement is an outcome of an individual's experience in your company to date. And then after that, once they've picked up that experience, they've learned behaviours. So therefore, that becomes a choice. So if that person feels as if their opinion isn't valued, well then they will choose to withhold their opinion because there's no reward for doing otherwise. So it's important to look back at those 3 key areas and say, well, okay, let's look at the relationships, let's look at the work that people do, and let's look at whether they feel they've got a future or not, what they feel the future holds for them with our company, and work on those 3 areas. And that gives us a nice succinct basis to work from. Okay, so I hope that has helped. As usual, on these, I'll let you know about our Engagement Leadership Academy. I'm your personal occupational psychologist on the Engagement Leadership Academy. So all the training and all the development in here I have developed and I will lead out. So again, I would like to get to know each of our learners better over time, and hopefully give you the training that you need to develop and enhance your career, and especially in these days of ever evolving and changing technology. Those soft skills are increasing in importance, not lessening. Companies now look more for the soft skills in leadership. So it's a good time to think about developing those skills for yourself. So how does the Engagement Leadership Academy work? It works by basically all the training that I've developed. It's on there. It's 24/7 access. You can access it at any time on any device. So again, there's a lot of recorded sessions in there. You see example of one here, welcome to motivation for engaging leaders. So in that, I've interpreted motivational theory for employee engagement. Not just regurgitating the theory out to you, but how would an engaging leader use that theory? How does this play in order to engage people? We look at the weaknesses of some of the theories and the strengths of the others, and we come up with a blended approach. So you get that take on all our sessions. There's some longer sessions. The motivation is, for example, a longer training course, and then there's other more bite-sized things to look at over your tea break or over lunch, for example. So anything from an infographic through to a couple of 2-minute tips on. There's one, for example, 5 2-minute tips on value and diversity. So again, gives people 5 things to do and an explanation around each. So all of that's available. We also have run live sessions like our lunch and learns, our webinars. I will run action learning sets for groups and managers who want to take particular issues into the group and have some support from your peers. And I'll also do live calls with the group once a week. So you got all that, and all that gets saved and recorded and put onto the academy. So if you miss it, you still have access. You don't miss out. So, and again, we've talked about webinars and action learning. Good source of peer learning from your management and leadership colleagues right around the globe. So it gives us a good network to learn from. So what does it cost? For an individual, £18 a month, including all tax. Okay, so that's it, flat rate, and you have access to all that training. For example, if one individual went to buy all the training that's on the Leadership Academy now, it would cost over £1,000. So again, it's great. This is great value, and there's annual subscription for any individual, or pay monthly. You can drop out at any time, so you're not tied into a contract. And there's corporate rates as well that you can click in and get to there. At this stage, we're offering a 30% discount if you buy before the 29th of June. So again, the links are on above the video here on LinkedIn. So again, you can click in there and get your discount. I would love to see you in there. There's lots of stuff going on. I'd love to chat to you. By all means, sign straight up that or get on to us on LinkedIn and connect with me. I'll be delighted to hear from you. I'm always happy to answer any questions that you have. Give me a shout, drop me a message on LinkedIn, and I will always get back to you. Okay, thank you very much.